In this session, we will be focusing on the economic interpretation of the dual variable and dual constraints, and followed by we will be focusing on post-optimality analysis. Before we go there, let us revise few terms with respect to the problem which we understood as a Toyko problem. So we remember that this particular company assembles three types of toys. There are three operations, the time is given, how much revenue we are going to get it, and for every operation, how much time is needed by these toys. So since this particular problem we have already solved, so we remember that we fix x1, x2, x3 as the daily number of units assembled of train, trucks, and cars. Here we are maximizing the revenue that we are going to get from these three types of toys. This problem is subjected to three constraints based on operation 1, 2, and 3. So as per the definition of the problem, we made these three constraints, and all these variables are non-negative. We remember that since it is a three variable problem, in order to solve using simplex method, we are adding three slack variables to these constraints. And when we solve this problem using simplex method, we get the following optimal simplex table. While discussing this, there are two terms which we discussed. First is called unit worth of resources. So we remember that the slack variables which we have used, and if you look at the Z row, so the corresponding coefficient will be telling us about the dual prices or the unit worth of resources. So unit worth of resources generally written in terms of money divided by the time. So that it says that the change in the optimal value per unit change in the availability of the resources. So here we remember that if we are going to change the right hand side of the operation 1 or constraint 1 by 1 unit, so this much amount of the revenue will change. Similarly for x5 for operation 2 and x6 it is 0. The another term which we have understood is reduced cost, and the reduced cost we understood as the cost of consumed resources by 1 unit minus revenue per unit. Say suppose if we are going to make one product or one toy, so how much we are investing, so that is the cost of consumed resources, and how much revenue we are going to get it. So this we can say as imputed cost of all resources to produce 1 unit minus revenue. How we can find the reduced cost? From the optimal simplex table, if we look at the Z row, so the coefficient which we get, those are the reduced costs. Here we remember that reduced cost of all basic variables such as x2, x3, and x6, that is always 0. However, there is a reduced cost for the non-basic variable. Since it was a maximization problem, so we know that there is no entering variable, and meaning that there is the reduced cost for the maximization problem is positive at the final iteration. While we are solving, so we know that a problem can be converted into the dual form. So the primal problem can be converted into dual form first by assigning the dual variable. So one dual variable is for one constraint. So since we have m constraints, so we can have m dual variable. Second, we have the dual constraint. So these coefficient a1j, a2j, amj, these are the coefficients for the dual constraint. And what could be the right hand side of the dual constraint? That is the cj, which we can find from this this Z row. Finally, the right hand side of the constraint b1, b2, bm, they will become the objective coefficient in the dual problem. So with this recap, let us move ahead. So let us understand the economic interpretation of the duality. So let us take this LP problem as a resource allocation problem. So the TOEICO problem which we have understood, it's a resource allocation problem. So resource allocation means we want to maximize our revenue. So the primal problem can be written as maximizing Z, and that is the summation of the cost multiplied by the variable xj. Then we can have the constraints, all of them are smaller than type. We have left hand side and the right hand side as a bi, and we have m constraints. Similarly, we can have n number of variables. If we are going to write its dual form, which you can see on the left hand side of the table, that the maximization will become minimization. The right hand side bi's will become the objective coefficient. So bi and yi are the yi is the dual variable for the constraint I. We take the summation, so this will become omega. As we remember in the previous slide, aij will become the coefficient and yi is the dual variable and summation of it. And now you can see the right hand side of the constraint, dual constraint is cj, which is the cost coefficient. And while solving this, we can say that yi's are greater than equal to 0. So if we talk about the number of variable, or sometimes we say economic activities, so we have n number of variable, m number of constraints or resources, cj is the revenue per unit of the activity, resource I, whose maximum availability is bi, is consumed at the rate of aij unit per unit of the activity j. So this is basically we are discussing about aij multiplied by xj. So what we are going now, let us understand this relationship of the dual variable by having the relation between z and omega. We discussed this earlier when there is a relation of z and omega as z is smaller than equal to omega. Z is the maximization problem, omega is the minimization problem. So before we reach the optima, z is smaller than omega. When we reach the optima, z is equals to the omega. Now let us write the equation of z. It is the summation of j equal to 1 to n, meaning all variables, into the cost cj into xj. This is smaller than equals to the summation of I equal to m. M is the number of constraints, bi and yi. Let us understand this thing. Now we are taking a problem as a resource allocation problem. We can see that it is similar to the TOEICO problem where we want to maximize our revenue. So since we want to maximize our revenue, so Z will be in terms of dollars. So since Z equals to omega is for at the optimum, so omega should also be in dollars. Now, if we look at the equation of this omega, so this is BIYI. We know that BI is the unit of the resources, basically the right hand side of the constraint. And we know that the summation of the multiplication of these two factors should give me the dollar. So this means that yi should represent as a dollar per unit of resource I. So this is the total unit of resource I multiplied by the dollar per unit of the resource I. So from this understanding, we can say that this yi, which is a dual price, can be understood as worth per unit of resource I. This means what is the amount for a 1 unit of the say constraint right hand 1 unit of the say resource 1 or constraint 1. We also, so this worth per unit of the resources, this definition we have learned earlier when we talk about the sensitivity analysis. So there, this unit worth per unit of the resource I, we also remember this was written as a dual and a shadow price. So directly we can say that yi, which is a dual variable, is nothing but a dual price or a shadow price or a worth per unit of resources. Now we know that before reaching optima, Z is smaller than omega, meaning revenue is smaller than worth of the resources. So total revenue from all activities is less than the worth of the resources. But when we reach at optima, all the resources have been exploited, meaning that the worth of resources equal to the output, that is the revenue. So from this particular slide, we can understand that yi represents the worth per unit of the resources, that is the dual price or the shadow price. Now let us understand the interpretation of the dual constraint. So earlier we discussed one formula 1 and at formula 2. In this case, we write the objective function coefficient is equals to the left hand side of the dual constraint j minus right hand side of the dual constraint j. If we write the equation, we can get summation aij yi minus cj. If we perform dimensional analysis, so we know that cj is the dollar per unit. So the summation should also be in dollar per unit. Now, if we are going to write this, yi we already know this is the cost per unit of resource I. Similarly, aij represent uses of resource I per unit of activity j. So if we take the multiplication of this, it means that it is the imputed cost of all resources to produce 1 unit of the activity j. So activity j means, suppose we have a toy truck. So in order to make one toy truck, how much resources we are using? So that imputed cost is represented by summation aij yi. And ci, we already know that it is the revenue. It is the revenue. So if we correlate with the slide which we have discussed at the beginning of this session, there we discussed unit worth of resources and the reduced cost. So the unit worth of resource I is directly the dual variable yi, and the reduced cost. So the reduced cost, you can see this particular formula. So reduced cost is equal to the imputed cost of all resources to make activity j minus the revenue. So we can make the definition. So basically the dual constraint is representing the reduced cost if we take left hand side minus right hand side. So here, let's go ahead. So since as per our previous discussion, so this is imputed cost of all resources to make 1 unit of activity j, and this is the cj. So that is nothing but the reduced cost of the activity j. So for the maximization optimality condition of the simplex method, an increase in the level of unused, which is basically non-basic activity j, can improve revenue only if the reduced cost is negative. So if you look at this relationship, so aij yi, so this is imputed cost of resources used by 1 unit of a j. If it is smaller than the revenue, then definitely this particular non-basic variable can improve our revenue, and that was our optimality condition for the simplex method. The maximization optimality condition thus says that it is economically advantageous to increase an activity to a positive level if unit revenue exceeds its unit imputed cost. So with this understanding of the economic interpretation of the dual variable and dual constraint, let us move ahead to the post-optimality analysis. We performed this sensitivity analysis earlier, which says that it deals with the sensitivity of the optimum solution by determining the ranges of different LP parameters that would keep the optimum basic variable unchanged. So we remember that we change the right hand side of the constraint, and there we make sure that the basic variable set will remain the same. Similarly, when we change the coefficient, objective function coefficients, there also we wanted that our optimum solution should not change. The post-optimality analysis deals with making the changes in the parameters of the model and finding the new solution. Now suppose when we are changing the right hand side, and in that case, the current optimum solution will become infeasible, or by changing the cost coefficient, the one of the non-basic variable can become the entering variable in the simplex table. So in that case, this post-optimality analysis will help us to find out what is the new solution for us. So we will begin with the changes affecting the feasibility. Feasibility means the right-hand side of the constraint will become negative. Or if you look at the simplex table, the column corresponding to the solution and one of the basic variable will become negative. So that is affecting the feasibility. So this feasibility of the current optimum solution can be affected when the right-hand side is changed or there is a new constraint into the problem. Let us take these two cases one by one. So here I'm writing the formula which we have discussed earlier. So this particular formula was new right hand side of the table in iteration I is inverse in iteration I into the new right hand side of the constraint. So basically, even if after some time, if we change the right hand side of the constraint, this right hand side we just multiply by the inverse. So you remember that inverse of the inverse, we can get it from the coefficient of the select variable in the simplex method. And this will give me the right hand side. So we did those hand calculation. So I can request you to refer to our previous session where we performed some hand calculation. So here the TOEICO problem we have already discussed. We have maximization problem, 3 variable, 3 constraints, and the optimum solution is given to us. For the same TOEICO problem, we can write its dual form in terms of dual variable, dual constraints, and the optimum solution are given here. And you know that this optimum solution like y1, y2, y3 value, we can find it directly from the optimal simplex table of primal problem, TOEICO primal problem. Now let us understand this post-optimality with the help of some questions. So question 1 is change in the right hand side. Suppose that TOEICO is increasing the daily capacity of operation 1, 2, and 3 to 602, 644, and 588 minutes. How would this change affect the total revenue? So first of all, while changing this, we have to see that how it is going to affect our solution. So this is the optimal simplex table that we got it after solving the TOEICO problem. Now we have to find what could be the value of x2, x3, and x6. These are the basic variable if we change the right hand side of the constraint as per the formula given in the previous slide. So this is the inverse multiplied by the new right hand side. When we multiply, we get the value of x2, x3, x4, x6 as 140, 322, 28. So you can see that these values are different from the optimal values which we got in the table. Now, first of all, there is no negative value, means all of them are feasible. Since these are feasible, then this is going to be the optimum solution for us. If we have to find out what is the total revenue, so we have the equation of a z. We will be putting the value of x1 is 0, x2 is 140, x3 is 322. We can get 1890. So what we can see that change in the right hand side is increasing the revenue for us. Let us take question number 2. There is another proposal is to shift the slack capacity of operation 3, which is 20, to the capacity of operation 1, how would this change the impact, impact the optimum solution? So if we go back, so you know that for the third constraint, x6 is a basic variable, which is a slack variable, and the value is 20. So the question says that since it's a slack variable, it is not going to affect our revenue. So if we shift this 20 to say operation 1, will it change anything? So let us see. Earlier capacity of operation was 430 and capacity of operation 3 was 420. Now here we will be reducing 20 from 3 and adding 20 to operation 1. If we do so, we have the inverse which we already we have the inverse which we already found from the optimal simplex table, and this is the new right hand side. Now you can see the change in operation 1 is 430 plus 20, 450, and the third operation is minus 20, so it is 400. We get the x2, x3, x6 value. So these are the current basic solutions for us: 110, 230, minus 40. So we can get the value. What is our observation? Minus 40 is infeasible because all variables should be non-negative. So the question is, how can we make it feasible? Answer to the question is we can use dual simplex method. So the dual simplex method, so we have this z equation. Since the value of x2 and x3 have been changed, so we will be putting the value in z and we get a new value of z is 1370. Now let us look into the simplex table. So all the coefficient in the simplex table is the same except the last column. If you look at the last column, updated z value, updated x2, x3 and x6 values are given for the current change in the right hand side of the constraint. Now we know that dual simplex method says that this is the most negative, it is going to be the leaving variable. Then we can find the ratio. We can say x4 is going to be the entering variable. By doing so, if we apply the dual simplex rules, we will get this optimal simplex table. There are certain observations. Even though we have moved 20 units from operation 3 to operation 1, still x1 is a non-basic variable, meaning x1 is 0. This means the proposed shift is not advantageous for us. Why? Because the revenue still remains the same, 1350. Now this means that although we are shifting some amount from operation 3 to operation 1, this is not advantageous. So basically the bottleneck we can see in operation 2 because the proposed shift is not useful for us. Second way when the feasibility of the solution can be changed is the addition of new constraint. So if constraint is redundant, so we are talking about this new constraint, then it is not going to affect our the current optimal solution. However, if it is not redundant, then it can change our optimal solution, and that we can find using the dual simplex method. So let us have a question number 3. Understand this particular scenario. Suppose that the Toyco is changing the design of its toys and that the change will require the additional 4th assembly operation. Now you can see that as soon as you have a 4th assembly operation, it is going to put the 4th constraint into our problem. So the daily capacity of new operation is 500 minutes and the time per unit for 3 products on these operations are 3, 1 and 1 minutes respectively. What is the optimum solution? So looking at this definition, we can find that the constraint can be written as 3x1 plus x2 plus x3 smaller than 500. That is the right hand side for constraint number 4. So at the current optimum solution, the value of the constraint, let us find it out. So the current optimum solution is x10, x200, x3, 230. This we get from the optimal simplex table. If we put the value, so we know that left hand side is greater than 500. So this means that it is not a feasible solution. It is so the left hand side is 330, which is less than 500. So constraint is a redundant. So this optimum solution will remain the same for the current change. So as and when we are adding a new constraint, let us check the constraint is redundant or not by putting the values of x1, x2, x3, which is at the optimal. And then thereafter, if it is redundant, then definitely our optimum solution is not going to change. Let us take the another scenario in terms of question number 4. Suppose the TOICO unit times on the fourth operation are changed as 331 minutes. Right hand side will remain the same. So this constraint can be written as 3x1 plus 3x2 plus x3 smaller than 500. For this particular situation, let us put the value of x1, x2, x3. So when you put, then you can see that the left hand side is greater than 500. So the solution, so the current optimum solution is infeasible for us. Since it is infeasible, so we have to perform the dual simplex method, and this new constraint should be added into the table. How we can add? Let us assume that we are taking x7 as a slack variable for the new constraint. So if I go back, you can see that this constraint is smaller than equal to type. So we will be adding one slack variable x7 here. Once we have added a slack variable, so we have to include it. So here the x7 variable we are included at the last after x6, and the constraints are the constraint coefficient are written at the last row. So these are written as 3, 3, 1, 0 coefficient for x4, 0 coefficient for x5, 0 coefficient for x6, 1 coefficient for x7, and the right hand side is 500. So if I go back, you can see 3, 3, 1. These are the coefficient for the x1, x2, and x3. What is our observation? We discussed this thing earlier that the basic variable x2, it should have the coefficient corresponding to the identity matrix, meaning that x2 versus x2 it is 1, x2 versus x3 is 0, x2 versus x6 is 0, and this should also be 0, but currently it is 3. Similarly, the second basic variable is x3. So we have 0, 1, 0, and this is 1. So this should be 0 because it should be the coefficient of identity matrix. Similarly, if we look at x6, here it is the identity matrix, so no issues. x7, this is also the coefficient of identity matrix. Now, since we have to make these coefficients 0 and a 0 to make sure that we should get the coefficient of identity matrix under all basic variable, we have to perform some row operations. Now these row operation, how we can do? We can perform x7. So new x7 is equal to old x7 minus 3 times of x2 row, 1 times of x3 row, and this if we do, we can get the new simplex table, and now you can see this is the modified. When we perform that row operation, what is the observation is that we get all the coefficient change. We have the identity matrix coefficient under all basic variables. And now look at the solution. Minus 30, it is an infeasible solution. So infeasible means this is going to be leaving variable, and then we will be finding the ratio, and then find the entering variable. If we follow this dual simplex rule, the optimal solution will become x1 is 0, x2 is 90, x3 is 230, and z is 1330. Now this 1330 is actually less than our original revenue, which was 1350. So it has worsened the situation. So it is not profitable to us. So what we can understand from this analysis, that finally we have to see how much z we are going to get it. If it is not useful, or it is less than the original, then those changes are not useful. But in order to check whether the changes required or suggested, what will be the new solution, we have to perform these operations as we have discussed. After that, we are now moving to the changes affecting the optimality. Now the optimality can be affected if we change the objective coefficient, and that can make our current optimum solution in that case, there could be another non-basic variable which can enter into the simplex table, or there will be a new activity or a new variable into the system. So let us take one by one. So changes in the objective coefficient. So that involves two steps. So step one is we have to compute the dual variable values using method 2. This method we discussed earlier. In this case, the optimal values of the dual variable is equals to the row vector of original objective coefficient of the optimal primal basic variable multiplied by the optimal primal inverse. So first we will find the dual variable, and thereafter in the step 2 we will be using, so use the new dual values to determine the new reduced cost. So basically we have to see that what is the reduced cost of the variables. For that one we will be using formula 2. So when we are going to change the objective coefficient, we have to first compute the dual variables in step 1, then finding the reduced cost in step 2 using formula 2. So this we have just discussed, that this coefficient we can find as left hand side of the jth dual constraint minus right hand side of the jth dual constraint. Now let us understand this situation with the help of questions. So question 1 is, in TOEICO model, suppose that the company has a new pricing policy to meet the competitors. The unit revenues are 2, 3 and 4 for the train, truck and car toys respectively. What is the new optimum solution and the revenue? So first of all, since the coefficient have been changed, the new Z equation will become 2x1 plus 3x2 plus 4x3. Now first we have to perform step 1, where we have to find the values of the dual variables. So here let us calculate what is row vector of the original objective coefficient of the optimal primal basic variable. So what are the basic variable in primal optimal simplex table? X2, X3, X6. And what are their original objective coefficient? So look at the new Z. X2 is corresponding to 3, X3 we have 4, and there is no X6, so we have written 0. So by using this step 1, we can find the value of y1, y2, y3. So we have 3, 4, 0 as a row vector. We have inverse from the simplex table, and we get 3 by 2, 5 by 4 and a 0. Thereafter, we are going to use step 2. Step 2 means we will be finding the reduced cost of non-basic variable by using left hand and right hand side of the jth dual constraint. So the first non-basic variable is x1, the dual form which we have written earlier. So left hand minus right hand side give me 13 by 4. Similarly for x4, it is 3 by 2. Similarly for x5, it is 5 by 4. And we have to understand the reduced cost of all basic variables are always 0. Now we remember that the Z coefficient in our objective function in our simplex method, they represent the reduced cost. Now if the reduced cost is negative, then that particular non-basic variable is going to enter into the table. That is what we have discussed in this particular session. Now currently none of the non-basic variable has the most negative value. So this means it is the optimal condition, and there will be no entering variable, and this means that there is no entering variable. So our optimal simplex solution will remain the same. Now what we can understand is, since the optimum solution remains the same, I can put a value of x1, x2, x3 into the Z equation, which comes out to be 1, 2, 2, 0. The observation is it is smaller than 1350, which was the original value. So it is not recommended because it is reducing the revenue. So the proposed change is not useful. Let us see another scenario in terms of question number 2. Now here, suppose that the TOEICO objective function is changed to maximize Z. So equation is given. Will the optimum solution change? So let's see that. So we will be finding step 1, and here the row coefficient. So x2 corresponding to 3, x3 4, and x6 was 0. So 3 4 0. Inverse of the matrix, we get 3 by 2, 5 by 4, and a 0. Now let us find out the reduced cost for x1. Left hand minus right hand side of constraint 1, dual constraint 1, we get minus 3 by 4. For x4, 3 by 2. For x5, 5 by 4. What is our observation? That this reduced cost is negative, meaning that this non-basic variable can enter into the simplex table. So, and nu z at this particular solution is 6 into 0. So we are just putting the value of x1, x2, x3 at the current optimum solution. That comes out to be 1220. So let us write the modified simplex table. So you can see that we have changed the z value 1220, and what we have done is since these these coefficients have changed, so these are the changes. Now we have find the reduced cost. For x1 it is minus 3 by 4. So you remember that reduced cost is corresponding to the z coefficients. So we have written minus 3 by 4. It is basic variable 0. x3 is also basic variable, it is 0. 3 by 2 we get it from the previous slide. x4 and x5, 3 by 2 and 5 by 4 we have written. x6, since it is basic, it is 0, and then 1220. What you can find is we have identified the reduced cost, and rest of the coefficient will remain the same. So we have to only deal with the z coefficient when we are changing the objective function coefficients. Now we know that we can apply the primal simplex rules, that the most negative is corresponding to x1. Then you find the ratio. It will say is that x6 is going to leave and 2 will become our pivot element. So entering variable is x1, leaving variable is x6. When we perform one more iteration, we can get the optimum solution as x1 10, x2 102.5, x3 215. The value of a z is 1227.5, which is again less than our original revenue of the problem. So it is also not profitable. So suggested change, we will not accept it. Now I'm coming to the last case, that is addition of new activity, means a new variable. How do we understand it? Let us read this question. TOEICO recognizes that toy trains are currently not in production because they are not profitable. The company wants to replace toy trains with a new product called toy fire engine to be assembled on the existing facilities. TOEICO estimates that the revenue per toy fire engine to be $4 and the assembly times per unit to be 1 minute on each operation 1 and a 2 and 2 minutes on operation 3. What is the new optimum solution? Now reading this particular statement, you can see that we are bringing new product. When we are bringing new product means this is going to be a new activity for us, or we can say a new variable for us. So let us assume that we are taking x1 as a number of toy fire engine. So this is a new variable for us. So step 1 is, let us find out the new z. So 2x2 plus 5x3 plus 4x1, 4x7. Now x1 is removed. So we are going to make these 3 toys. So step 1 is I can identify. Now you remember that in the optimum simplex table, x2 and x3 are basic and x6 was basic. So corresponding to x2 we have coefficient 2, corresponding to x3 we have a coefficient 5. So it is 2, 5, and x6 corresponding to x6 we have a coefficient 0. This row vector is multiplied by the inverse of the matrix, and then we get 1, 2, 0. So we are following the same procedure which we have followed in the previous slide. Step 1, finding the dual variable. Now find out the reduced cost of x7, because this is only the new activity which we have added into the simplex table. When we put the value of, so this is the left hand side of the left hand side minus right hand side. So this is going to give me the value as -1. Since it is -1, so we know that it is going to be the entering variable. Now here, before I go to the next slide, you may be wondering how we are getting it. So you read this question. It says that this particular toy will take 1 minute on operation 1, 1 minute on operation 2, and 2 minutes on operation 3. So that's why 1y1 plus 1y2 plus 1y3. So y1 is for operation 1, y2 for operation 2, and y3 for operation 3. Minus, so you remember that we write the revenue. So the revenue of this new toy is 4. So we have written 4. So from the equation itself, we can write left hand minus right hand side of the dual constraint corresponding to x7. So we can write it and get the value, say -1. So this is entering non-basic variable for the given problem. Since x7 is introduced to the simplex table, its column coefficient can be found using formula 1. This formula 1 we discussed earlier in our session, which says that the constraint column in iteration I is the inverse in iteration I and original constraint coefficient. So x1 coefficient, so we have the inverse, and what are the original coefficient for operation 1? 1, 1, 2. From the previous slide, you can say 1, 1 and 2. And then if we multiply it, we can get the x7 column column coefficient as 1 by 4, 1 by 2 and 1. Let us use them in a modified simplex table. So you can see this is the simplex table, and now we are introducing x7 as a new variable, and that we are adding a new column. Just before, in step 1, we find the variable values, and step 2 we find the reduced cost. So the reduced cost of x7 is -1. In the previous slide, we find the coefficient of x7 at the current iteration, that was 1 by 4, 1 by 2 and a 1. Now looking at this, I can apply the primal simplex rules. So since it is most negative for a maximization problem, x7 is going to enter into the table and x6 is going to leave the table. If we perform 2 more iteration of primal simplex method, we can get x1, x2 is 0, x3 is 125, x7 is 210. The value of a z is 1465. Now here, this revenue is greater than the original revenue. So this means the suggested change is profitable and we can adopt it. However, practically, if you see, we can give an argument that we have to stop making 2 toys. We have to concentrate on the other 2 toys. Then our revenue will be more. So it depends on the organization whether they want to take this kind of a decision in order to improve the revenue. So with this, I'm concluding the chapter on duality and post-optimality analysis. From this chapter, you can very well understand that there is a significance of converting the dual. There is a significance of converting the primal problem into dual form. There are certain methods and formulas which we have used it. We understood the different kind of dual simplex method or generalized simplex method. Then economic interpretation of dual variable, which is nothing but the worth, dual price and the shadow price. Similarly, the dual constraint tell me the reduced cost of the variable. And thereafter, we discuss the post-optimality analysis, in which if suppose the optimum solution is getting changed by changing the right-hand side or by introducing a new constraint, or we can change the coefficient of the objective function, or by including the new activity into the formulation, then how we can find the new solution. So with this, I'm concluding this chapter on the post-optimality analysis.